Fundraising, very important for college tennis, very important for college athletics. There's 4 types of fundraising. First, you have your endowments. So endowments is when a donor donates, for example, like $1 million, and that $1 million would be set aside and be invested and produce a return. Let's say it produces a return for 10% return. So the 10% return of $1 million, that would be $100,000. Now, it's not easy to get a 10% return, but we're using that as an example. So that $100,000 return, you would take $50,000 and put it back into the endowment to keep up with inflation. So the following year, that endowment value would be $1,050,000. And then you have $50,000 left, and that would be what you would spend on operating your tennis program. So endowments, very key for long-term success. If programs don't have any endowments, sometimes you're just not excited about it because it's really making it better for the future and the long-term success of the program. So it doesn't always benefit you right away. Some of the Ivy Leagues programs, they have their operating budgets endowed. They even they have their coaching positions endowed. A lot of times you'll see it on underneath the coach's signature on who the donor is that's endowed the coaching position. So endowments are really key for long-term success, long-term funding for programs. The second type is just annual fund giving. That's the donor that's giving you maybe or donating $1,000 each year. So the $1,000 comes in, $1,000 goes out. It's really not that sexy, but it's annual giving. Third kind is naming rights. So you might have a donor that's very excited about maybe they want to build an indoor tennis facility or name a court after them or name office space after them. I'm sorry. So if you name, some of them would like to name, again, either office space, tennis courts, indoor buildings. So naming rights, sometimes it doesn't always offset the whole cost of the building, and sometimes it does. But usually the board at the school determines what the naming rights funding needs to be for the right for someone to put their name on there. Fourth type is events and sponsorships. So you could be bringing in a celebrity pro or coach. It could be like a Bollettieri. It could be a Mats Wilander. It could be the Jensens. Those are very popular celebrity pros to bring in. So you could have a sponsors for that, and then you would also have people that would pay event money for that, a registration fee and so forth. Or it could just be a tournament. It could that you do for your program. It could be a tournament. It could be something as creative as a road trip to the U.S. Open. So there's a variety of ways that you can do that. Now, when you're in this fundraising mode, certain donors, you don't want to slapstick out there, start throwing things out. Hey, can you provide funding for this, funding for that? Actually, you want to listen and ask them questions. Hey, would you like to come to the tennis match? Would you like to play in one of these events? And the more you listen, the more you'll get a better feel for what they would like to do. So I had a particular donor who donated $1 million as far as an endowment, and also donated $800,000 as far as the facility. So we built a really nice outdoor facility was built, and he wanted to see the long-term success of the program. So he put $1 million into endowment that helps fund the maintenance of that tennis facility and so forth. But then you might have, on the other hand, I was able to get $1 million endowment for an indoor tennis facility, and two of the donors were good friends of mine, and they really liked having their friendship, combining their friendship, and also doing something very iconic for our area as far as having their name on our tennis facility. And and so that was really exciting. So, but they weren't necessarily interested in endowments. So you have to listen to what way your donor guides you. I've had some that really wanted to just participate in the annual fund, and they didn't want anything or any kind of recognition, because sometimes when you are donating money and your name gets out there, then you start to get asked by more entities, and these particular donors didn't want that. They just wanted to give to the annual fund and so forth. So it's nice to have a healthy combination there. So because if you were all endowments and you had your funding set, programs could get a little bit of stale. There's some excitement about having events and fundraising and so forth, and especially when you're incorporating your student athletes into it, of course, in an NCAA compliant manner. The nice thing is those events and those fundraising events do add excitement to in a program. So if you just if you're already that successful and you have a $5 million endowment to fund your program, you may still want to do these events to add that excitement. And then if you don't have the endowments, it's great to do these events, because the more events you do, whether it be a basketball appreciation night, where maybe the tennis program has a tennis appreciation night, and they invite all their tennis patrons to come out and just to socialize at a basketball game. Those kinds of events help plant the seeds for donors to get more involved in your program. So remember, 4 types of endowments. You got your I'm sorry, not 4 kinds of endowments, 4 kinds of fundraising. 1 is endowment. 2, you got the naming rights. 3, you have events, sponsorships, and so forth. And 4 is just straight up annual giving. If you have any additional questions about that, just shoot me an email. I'll have my email address below. And I also have a link to one of the endowments, a small endowment that I started at one of the schools. So you can check that out too.